Welcome back to another video, and in today's video, I am back with yet another season review tier list. Today, we are going to be re-ranking every NFL running back, because we did it earlier. Now the whole season's done. A lot of new changes have been made. A lot of my new thoughts have been different, and after the season, now I'm going to be re-ranking every single NFL running back. If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We are currently at 218 subscribers. We are on the road to 300. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if this video can get at least 5 likes, I will do the wide receiver re-rank. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be my wild card weekend reactions, but I will do it on Wednesday. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day, and I hope you guys are all going to enjoy this video. Comment down below what you disagree or agree with from this tier list, and who's been the biggest bust as an NFL running back this year. Obviously, we have a lot of running backs to go through. Some of them aren't even currently playing. If they're not, I'll obviously talk about that and stuff like that. But let's get into the video. And first up, we do have a person that is not currently playing anymore, Chris Carson. I'm actually going to make a tier below. And I'm going to make a tier below saying retired or not playing. No, I'm just going to say not currently playing. Not about like a backup, like literally not currently playing, because I think Chris Carson retired. I think he had a decent career. I think he definitely could have played a bit more, but I guess injuries have been a big problem. Don't really need to talk about him much because he didn't play this year. Next up, we have Kenyon Drake. He was pretty trash this year. I don't even know what team he's on now. He's not on the Raiders anymore. I think he left the Cardinals. He's on a different team. I know he's like a backup there. He had a few okay games, but he's realistically he's pretty trash. Next up, we have Kareem Hunt. This year, kind of meh. I won't say he's trash because we know the potential of Kareem Hunt, but this year he struggled. I will not lie to you. And again, maybe that's because he didn't get the chances because he had some events off the field, which I don't need to get into, but not cool of him. And I think he just didn't play good even when he was healthy. And honestly, he was pretty mad this year. Next up, we have Darrell Henderson. So at the start of the year, he was a starting running back, and he actually was playing pretty good with the Rams. And then, slowly but surely, Cam Akers overtook that role. And honestly, Darrell Henderson was kind of meh. Now, at the start of the year, I thought I put him at decent, but right now he was kind of playing meh. Next up, we have Jonathan Taylor, top of the pack. Not quite best in the game. Best in the game, I'm going to say for like 3 to 5 running backs. He's not quite best in the game because he just didn't have that good of a year. But we know what Jonathan Taylor is capable of. We know how good of a 2021 he had. We know his potential. He just hasn't quite unlocked it this year, and he didn't really quite do it. But I still expect him to bounce back next year and have a big year. Next up, we have Travis Etienne, top of the pack. I'm also gonna put these guys in order, just so you guys know. So I'm gonna go Darrell Henderson in front. But yeah. I mean, honestly, Travis Etienne was very, very good this year. Just such as Trevor Lawrence, that second year was a big year for Travis Etienne. And honestly, Travis and Trevor, they really feeded off each other, and they really were the reason why the Jags made the playoffs and won that first wild card game, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Yeah, Etienne's a good running back. He's a very good running back. Good speed. I think he could use maybe in the offseason, maybe he's a bit stronger, and he would be a threat. Next up, we have J.D. McKissick. I mean, he isn't really starting, is he, anymore? I wouldn't say he's not currently playing, but when he plays, I think he's just kind of meh. I'll put him at the bottom because, again, the other 2 guys in front of him have been starting. I wouldn't say he's trash because he is valuable on some teams, and regularly I put him in decent, actually, but because that receiving ability is quite amazing. But right now, yeah, he's kind of meh. Next up, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Ah, this year was not his year. He also got injured. I'm gonna put him in med for now, ahead of a top of pack of med. And I know I'm putting a lot of med right now. I just can't figure out a way to put him in decent when really he isn't the main running back anymore. But the thing is, I really can't put him in trash because he was a 15th overall pick, so we know he's not trash. But he just hasn't been able to do anything. And honestly, Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon are looking a lot better than him. Next up, speaking of Jerick McKinnon, we have Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon played really good this year. I'm gonna put him in decent because again, he is just a receiving back. I wouldn't say he kind of shares carries with Isaiah Pacheco, so he can only go so high. But he was really a touchdown machine, was a receiving machine, and he really was really valuable for the Chiefs. And with only really having Travis Kelce as the main guy, being him as a good secondary option for Patrick Mahomes really was good. Next up, we have James Robinson. I'm putting him in decent. I don't care that he didn't. The Jets didn't even give him a chance. That's all I'm going to say. The Jets didn't give him a chance. So I still think he's decent. You can disagree with me if you want. I don't. I think he's still decent. Next up, we have Rex Burkhead. Honestly, he's been able to keep a starting job for like 10 years straight. Not 10 years straight, but he's been able to be a quality running back for 10 years straight. If we're being honest, like maybe he was a fullback again, but the last like 3 years with Texans, he's been the main guy, and he's been good. And I know he hasn't been amazing, he hasn't been astounding, but I think he's the middle of the pack running back for this kind of tier list. Also, I'm not really gonna be talking about because look how many running backs we have to go. I'm not gonna be talking about these for too long, or else it's gonna be like a 50-minute video. Next up, we have David Johnson. Even though he is technically still playing, I'm just gonna put him in not currently playing because he really is kind of irrelevant at this point. Next up, we have Aaron Jones. I think he is still top of the pack. He still has some good games this year. He's not quite ahead of Etienne or Jonathan Taylor right now, but I still think he has potential. I still think he is a good running back. I just think that he needs a little. He just needs. I feel like he just needs a better offense, so he gets less guarded. I would say, and maybe AJ Dillon needs to get out of here. Maybe he needs to go to a different place for him to succeed. I still have confidence in Aaron Jones. I still think he had a decent year, just not as good as before. Next up, we have DeAndre Swift. I think it's going to go right here. A little bit behind Jerick McKinnon because I think Jerick McKinnon this year was just better, but they are kind of similar roles. But I still like DeAndre Swift. This year, kind of Jamal Williams kind of took him over as the main running back, but I still like DeAndre Swift. I still think he's a great running back. Next up, we have Dave Montgomery. I'm going to put him at the top of decent because, again, we know he's got potential. We know how good Dave Montgomery can be, but this year he's been decent. He's had some good games. At the end of the year, he started playing a little better, but right now, he did not play the greatest. I'm not going to lie, he did not play the greatest. So I'm just going to put him in decent. Next up, we have James Conner. This is tough for me because James Conner really had a down year, for being honest. He had a down year. I'm going to put James Conner in decent in front of these two because he really did have a down year. James Conner, touchdown machine last year with Arizona, had a really bad year. I don't know. I know I kept repeating myself right there, but he just did not seem like as good of a running back. He seemed slower and he seemed just less valuable. And I know he's injured for a little bit, but still. Next up, we have Chase Edmonds. I guess he started the year off, but after that, he went to the Broncos. He might even be trashed, you know. Oh, he had some potential, so I'm gonna put him ahead of J.D. McKissic, ahead of Kareem Hunt, ahead of Darrell Henderson this year because he at least was more valuable. Next up, we have Elijah Mitchell, and playoff runs, still he's been good even with injuries. I'm gonna put Elijah Mitchell not as good as David Montgomery or Jerick McKinnon. I think he goes right around here, a little bit ahead of James Conner because that's how valuable he was, even when he only played about less than half the games. He's still a really, really good running back, even with Christian McCaffrey being the main one there. Next up, we have Raheem Mostert. I mean, he technically was the main running back for most of the season, and then Jeff Wilson came over and kind of took that place. I think this year Mostert was playing quite decent. I think he's see. I wouldn't say he's ahead of these guys because he didn't quite play enough. I'm just gonna put him right here. Again, I know Mostert or Mostert, I don't know how you say it, is decent, but he isn't the main running back there, so you gotta take him down a little bit. Next up, we have Ramondre Stevenson, top of the pack. Honestly, I'm just gonna go right there. Ramondre was such a good running back this year. He took the rollover from Damian Harris, and I think he did it greatly. Just a big running back that can receive, that can run, speed, scary guy to face when you're facing him. And honestly, he's probably the main offense from the New England Patriots this year. Next up, we have Saquon Barkley. Don't really need to talk about this one. He best in the game. I mean, this year he had one of his best years, probably his best year, besides maybe his rookie year. He was amazing this year, just amazing. Over 1,000 yards rushing, over 300 yards receiving. Probably a chance to win comeback player of the year, most improved player of the year. Was maybe one of the best running back in the league this year. I think there's a few other that are a little bit better, but I'm still gonna put him in best in the game. Next up, we have Tony Pollard. Man, top of the pack, in ahead of, honestly, these three. He actually is top of the pack. He's top of the pack. Because Pollard, while being a secondary running back, because remember, Zeke was the main running back there, really shined this year. He really shined this year. Not the best in the game, but my goodness, he had an amazing year. And he's got speed, and he shows why he can be a starting running back in any other team besides the Cowboys. But the Cowboys, they seem to love Zeke. They seem to give him kisses. Give Tony Pollard a chance, please. Next up, we have Miles Sanders. This year, he was top of the pack, and I don't think he's amazing. But I'm gonna put the bottom of top of the pack because he really did have a great year, especially early in the year. He was getting like 100-yard games, like it was nothing for him. Honestly, for the Eagles team having so many weapons, people like to just don't look at Miles Sanders. He had a really good year. Next up, we have Antonio Gibson. This is tough for me, but I gotta put him in meh. I think he's probably top of meh, but Brian Robinson really did take his place, and I think you have to put him in that situation where he is meh. And also, you could see I don't think there's any rookies on this list, so there's no like any of the rookies, and I'm sorry for that. But Brian Robinson, he had a decent year. If I had to say, he had a decent year for me, in my opinion. Next up, we got Leonard Fournette. Ooh, Leonard had a bad year. Like I think only like 630 yards rushing this year. I'm gonna put Leonard Fournette. He's still decent, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's still decent. He probably goes like right here. I know he's got potential, and I know how good he can be, but this year he was bad. This year he was not up to expectations, and honestly, it seems like when Tom Brady struggles, he struggled with him. Next up, we have Alvin Kamara. This is tough. This is really tough for me because Alvin Kamara is such a guy that's like, I don't know if I can rate him because it's like he was out. He really had a bad year. I'm gonna put him in decent. I'm gonna be honest, top of decent, but I'm putting him in decent because he really did not have a good year. He had a couple of good games, and we know the potential's there, but he had a struggling year, so I'm gonna put him in decent. Next up, we have Mark Ingram. I don't really count him as a running back anymore. I'm just gonna put him not currently playing, even though he is currently playing again. I mean, he was kind of reliable at the start of the year, but after that, he was kind of nothing. So I'm just gonna put him. Same with Mike Davis again. Really does not play anymore. I mean, might be a bench role, but he's not gonna actually start and have consistent carries. Next up, we have Latavius Murray, who actually had a decent year for the Broncos with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, with Melvin being waiver wired and Javonte just being injured. I'm actually pretty proud of how Latavius Murray played. I think he's around here. I think he had a decent year for me. Just a guy that like, and all the bad things about the Broncos, he was a big leader in, I don't know, just like making the team better. He made the team a little better, even though they were that bad. Next up, we have Devin Singletary. Honestly, always has been a decent running back. Nothing that's gonna wow you, but he's probably whoa. What just happened? What just happened, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry. I'm trying to remember where I put everybody. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened. Leonard Fournette did not do it. He was here. Where is it's Devin Singletary. Devin, I'm gonna put right here. He's a good running back, and I know the Bills have so many great weapons, but he's one of those guys that people just don't talk about enough. He's just that good. He's such a good running back, underrated running back. I like him a lot. I think he's a good running back. Next up, we have J.K. Dobbins. Honestly, at the end of the year, he was playing like a top of the pack running back, probably even ahead of Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones. I'd say he's right here. J.K. played really good, and especially in that playoff game, which again I'll talk about later. But I know that they lost, but he played really good at the end of the year when he came back from injury. He was the main reason why, a big reason why the Ravens were able to squeak into the playoffs, and he played great. He had a great rest of the season, and it shows that he still got main back there. Next up, we have Joe Mixon. I still got to put him in top of the pack because we know how good he can be, but this year was a down year. I think he's at the end of top of the pack. He had a down year for him, especially just running wise. He just wasn't getting a lot of yards per carry, and his receiving touchdowns went down. His rushing touchdowns went down. Everything of the stats just went down. Not by a lot, but it did go down. So I got to put him in top of the pack, bottom of it. Next up, we have Nick Chubb. I think he is one of the best in the game. I don't think he's, again, going to be the top. I don't think he's going to be the I wouldn't even say he's better than Saquon this year, but he had a really good year again. Just shows why I think that, again, in my opinion, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you got to get rid of Kareem Hunt. You got to get rid of him. You have to give Nick Chubb is your main running back. You got to give him all the carries, and Kareem Hunt's kind of stealing some of those. But Nick Chubb's an amazing running back, just a great power back, can easily get you touchdowns. And again, big reason why the Cleveland Browns got as many wins as they did, because they were not expecting that much. Next up, we have Najee Harris. Had a really good year last year, top of the pack year last year, but this year, he was just decent. He was just decent. I think he goes right around I think he still deserves to be recognized. I think he's right there. I think Najee's right there. He had it down here. He did start picking up by the end of the year, but you can only do so much after such a bad start to the year. Next up, we have Melvin Gordon, not currently playing because he literally isn't. He was so bad this year. Next up, we have Javonte Williams. I'm just going to put him at the bottom of decent because we didn't really get to see him. Well, I guess the middle of decent. I'll just put him there because, again, we didn't really get to see him too much this year. So we got to see him next year. We know the potential's there, though. Next up, we have Derrick Henry, obviously, is best in the. I keep just messing up. He's best in the game. I think he's better than Nick Chubb. But this year, he just wasn't better than Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry to say it. Henry had some bad games. He was a great running back, but I think, in my opinion, and I'm not even being like a biased Giants fan, which I'm not even a Giants fan, but Saquon had the better year this year, so I think he deserves it. I think only one, I think two, maybe three other running backs are better than Saquon Barkley. So yeah, I'm gonna put him. I'm gonna put Derrick Henry best in the game, but not quite number one. Still an amazing year though. Next up, we have Dante Foreman. I mean, he's the main running back for Carolina. Only so much you can do. I'll put him at the top of Met because all these other guys in Met, like he played way more than, but he still was not that good. Next up, we have Damian Harris. I mean, he was kind of meh as well. More near the bottom as well. I think he goes like right here. He was not that good this year. I think Ramondre definitely took over his role, and he just wasn't as good. Like, I feel like his yards per carry went down a lot. He wasn't being as involved, and I feel like Bill Belichick really didn't want to use him too much. Next up, we have Christian McCaffrey. In my opinion, he was the best running back this year. And you can call me biased. I don't care what you say. Maybe one's better, and I'll talk about it in a second. But I think Christian McCaffrey was one of the best running backs. Because when he came to the Niners, they literally went on a 10-game winning streak to end the year and have not lost since, like, without him. He has been a crucial piece of this Niners offense. And every single game that he's played with the Niners has been, like, insane. Insane. He's just fed with that Niners offense. He's been a great addition, and he hasn't gone injured. So that's why he's the best in the game, because he actually hasn't gone injured like he always does. Next up, we have Cordell Patterson. I mean, if Tyler Allgeier's on here, I'm going to put him in decent. Cordell kind of had a decent year, though. Nothing crazy. He's not top of the pack. He's probably, like, here. And, like, Cordell really didn't have that good of a year. Still had a decent year. There's nothing where I'm, like, outstanding by. Next up, we have Josh Jacobs, best in the game. He was amazing this year. I think he's number two. Not better than Christian, but I think he's number two. Josh Jacobs, what an amazing year from Josh Jacobs. I am so proud of him. Did not expect anything of him this year, and he shocked the world. I feel like he just felt more alive, just like Saquon. I feel like he just like had more pop and stuff. I think he just was able to like be a better running back because I feel like he had more confidence in himself, and I think it really showed on the field. He had an amazing year. He might have even had a better year than Chris McCaffrey. I'm just going to count Chris McCaffrey at number one because how his team played with him. But I think Josh Jacobs played amazing. Next up, we have Austin Eckler. He was another best in the game running back. I'll leave it to six because I don't think anybody else is going to get up there. I don't think anyone else is going to get up there. I think Eckler was better than Nick Chubb this year. I think he was better than Derrick Henry. Not better than Saquon. I think he's right there. Eckler had a great year. And I know you can say that, like, oh, we didn't get as many rushing yards. He is a rushing and receiving back. He'll get 700 rushing yards, 700 receiving yards, and he'll have a total of 20 touchdowns. He can do everything for you. He's basically just Christian McCaffrey, but just a little bit worse. And honestly, Eckler's amazing. Next up, we have Rashad Penny. I'm not currently playing because I got injured, but hope he recovers. Next up, we have Sony Michel. I don't care if he's not currently playing. He's trash. He's always been trash. Next up, we have Nyheim Hines. He went to the Colts, I believe. I, oh no, no, he went to Buffalo. He went to Buffalo. Sorry, I meant to say. Hines is kind of meh now. I like him, but he just didn't play that well this year. I'll put him right here. I'll give him a little bit of credit, but I need to see a bit more. It wasn't his fault. It's just Buffalo didn't even use him. Next up, we have Zach Moss. That's the guy who went to what's it called? The Colts, and I think he's just at the bottom of that. I think he's just a kind of a reliable backup option. Nothing crazy about him. I would say he has potential, but he's not like ridiculous. Next up, we have Jamal Williams. He had a top of the pack year. I'm not gonna lie, maybe he's at the bottom, but my goodness, the touchdowns were amazing this year. J.K. Dobbins had an insane. Uh, my words are totally off. Sorry, guys. Williams, Jamal Williams, amazing year, and it showed that I think that he was the Lions' main back this year pretty easily over DeAndre Swift. Next up, we have Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, this one's tough for Zeke. This one's tough for Zeke. I'm not gonna lie, because Zeke, he had a down year, but he was still decent. He's just not as good as Tony Pollard. I think he goes top of decent. I think he goes top of decent. He still had a good year, just I think Tony Pollard has a better year than him. Next up, we have AJ Dillon. He had another decent year, showing why that he thinks that he can be with Aaron Jones. I just don't think he's as good as Aaron Jones. I think he goes right here. I think he goes right there. He's still an amazing power back. He can still get yards. He was still reliable and viable for the Packers offense, but I don't think he's anything special. Next up, we have Dalvin Cook. I think he's still top of the pack, even though he had a bit of a down year. I'll put him ahead of all these guys. I think he even goes. I think he goes right there. I believe in Dalvin Cook still to have a better year next year. I just think that the Vikings are a throw first offense, so he just doesn't do as well. Next up, we have Michael Carter. Kind of trash. I'm not gonna lie. Ronald Jones trash. Myles Gaskin trash. I don't care they're not playing. James White trash, and Cam Akers decent. End of the year he was decent. Probably even goes up to like here a decent. Better than Devin as well. And that's the end of my tier list. If you guys like the tier list, finish leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, we are on the road to 300. If you're new and you like the content, please make sure to subscribe. This was a long tier list, and you guys can really help me out by liking the video. Comment down below what you agree and disagree with my tier list, and what was the biggest bust of this season, running back style. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.